There is a moment, listen carefully, there is a moment when everything you are about to say could either build your destiny or destroy it. A moment so powerful, so dangerous, that one careless word can close doors that God Himself had opened for you. And in that moment, when your heart is burning, when your mind is racing, when your emotions are screaming for release, God is watching you. Not to punish you without reason, but because what comes out of your mouth will determine what remains in your life right now. You think speaking will give you relief. You think expressing your frustration will make you feel better. But I tell you, there are times when God is furious. Not because you are weak, but because you are about to sabotage His work in your life with your own words. Understand this deeply. Your mouth is not just a part of your body, it is a weapon. It is a key. It is a gate. What you release through it does not disappear into the air. It shapes your reality. And when you speak carelessly, in moments of anger, doubt, jealousy, or pain, you are not just talking, you are planting seeds. Seeds that will grow into consequences you cannot escape. God sees the seeds you are about to plant, and in His divine awareness, He is warning you. Close your mouth. You do not realize how many blessings have been delayed, not because God refused them, but because your words rejected them. You pray with your lips, but you cancel your prayers with your speech. You ask for peace, yet you speak chaos. You ask for elevation, yet you speak defeat. And then you wonder why nothing changes. God is not confused. He is not deaf. He hears everything. And He responds not only to your prayers, but to your daily declarations. There are battles in your life that are not meant to be fought with noise. They are meant to be won with silence. But silence requires discipline. Silence requires trust. Silence requires faith that God is working even when you are not speaking. And that is where many fail, because silence feels like weakness to the human mind. It feels like surrender. It feels like losing control. But in the eyes of God, silence in the right moment is power. You want to defend yourself. You want to explain yourself. You want to prove them wrong. You want to release everything that is inside you. But what if God is saying, if you speak now, you will ruin what I am building? What if your silence is the very thing protecting your future? What if your restraint is the shield God has placed around you? There are people who lost opportunities because they could not stay quiet. There are relationships that broke not because of hatred, but because of uncontrolled words. There are destinies that were delayed because someone could not control their tongue for even a moment. And God, seeing all of this, becomes furious, not in cruelty, but in righteous frustration, because He has prepared something great and you are about to destroy it with something small. Your emotions are real, but they are not always right. Your feelings are intense, but they are not always truthful. And when you allow your mouth to become the servant of your emotions, you give power to things that were never meant to control you. God did not design you to be ruled by impulse. He designed you to be guided by wisdom. Think about this. Every time you speak in anger, you lose a piece of your authority. Every time you speak in doubt, you weaken your faith. Every time you speak in negativity, you distance yourself from the very blessings you are asking for. And yet you continue to believe that speaking more will fix things. No. Sometimes speaking less is the only solution. There is a divine strength in hoarding your words when everything inside you is begging to release them. That strength is not human, it is spiritual. It is the evidence that you trust God enough to remain silent while He works behind the scenes. Because God does not need your noise to act. He does not need your explanations to understand. He does not need your defense to justify you. He sees. He knows. He is already aware of every detail you are trying to explain. But you do not trust that. So you speak. You rush. You react, and in doing so, you interrupt processes that were already in motion. God had already planned your vindication, but your words created confusion. God had already arranged your breakthrough, but your speech invited delay. There are moments when silence is not just recommended, it is commanded. Moments when speaking is not just unwise, it is dangerous. And those are the moments when God is warning you the most. Not with thunder, not with visible signs, but with a quiet urging in your heart that says, do not say anything. You feel it. You have felt it before. That hesitation before you speak, that inner resistance, that subtle pull telling you to hold back. That is not fear. That is not weakness. That is guidance. That is God protecting you from yourself. But you ignore it. You override it. You convince yourself that you need to speak. And afterwards, you regret it. You replay your words in your mind. You wish you had stayed quiet. You realize that nothing improved. In fact, everything became worse. And still you repeat the cycle. Why? Because discipline is difficult. Because silence requires control. Because trusting God in the heat of the moment is one of the hardest things you will ever do. But it is also one of the most powerful. You are not losing by staying silent. You are not weak for holding back. You are not defeated because you did not respond. You are being positioned. You are being protected. You are being prepared for something greater than your current situation. God sees what you cannot see. He knows what you do not know. And when He urges you to be silent, it is not to suppress you, it is to elevate you. It is to prevent you from stepping outside of His plan. You must understand, not every attack deserves a response. Not every accusation requires a defense. Not every situation needs your voice. Some situations need your silence so that God's power can be fully revealed. When you speak too soon, you take control away from God. You try to fix things in your own way, and your way is limited. Your understanding is incomplete. Your vision is narrow. But God's perspective is perfect. His timing is flawless. His plan is precise. So when He says close your mouth, it is not a suggestion. It is a strategy. A strategy to keep you aligned. A strategy to protect your progress. A strategy to ensure that what He has started in your life is not destroyed by your own actions. You are not being silenced, you are being guided. There is a power that comes when you learn to control your tongue. A power that transforms your presence. A power that strengthens your spirit. A power that aligns you with God's will. People will expect you to react. They will provoke you. They will test you. They will try to pull words out of you. But your strength is not in giving them what they want. Your strength is in remaining unmoved. Because when you remain silent in the face of chaos, you are not ignoring the situation. You are placing it in God's hands. And there is no safer place for it to be. Do not let temporary emotions cause permanent damage. Do not let a moment of anger destroy a lifetime of blessings. Do not let your mouth become the reason your prayers go unanswered. There is a reason why control over speech is so emphasized. It is because words are powerful, and power without control leads to destruction. God has given you the ability to speak, but He has also given you the responsibility to know when not to. And that responsibility is where many fail. But you can change that. You can become someone who does not react impulsively, someone who does not speak carelessly, someone who understands the value of silence. And when you do, everything will begin to shift. Your relationships will improve. Your peace will increase. Your clarity will deepen. And most importantly, your connection with God will strengthen, because you will no longer be working against Him. You will be working with Him. So the next time you feel the urge to speak, pause. The next time your emotions rise, hold back. The next time you are provoked, stay still. Not because you are weak, but because you are wise. Not because you are afraid, but because you are aware. God is watching. God is guiding. And in that critical moment when everything depends on your response, remember this: silence is not empty. Silence is full of power. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can ever do is to close your mouth and trust God completely. There is another level you must understand, a deeper place where this truth becomes unavoidable. The discipline of silence is not only about avoiding harm, it is about unlocking a dimension of power that most people never reach. Because when you refuse to speak in moments that provoke you, you are not just controlling your tongue, you are mastering your soul. And mastery of the soul is where God begins to entrust greater responsibility, greater influence, and greater elevation. You have been asking God for more peace, more success, more clarity, more provision. But listen carefully. Why would God increase your influence if you have not yet learned how to control what you say? Why would He expand your reach if your words still carry confusion, anger, and inconsistency? Expansion without discipline leads to destruction. And God, in His wisdom, will not allow you to rise to a level that your character cannot sustain. So He trains you in silence. He allows situations where you are misunderstood. He allows moments where you are falsely accused. He allows circumstances where you are ignored, overlooked, even disrespected. Not because He has abandoned you, but because He is watching how you respond. Will you react with noise, or will you respond with restraint? Will you defend yourself endlessly, or will you trust that God is the ultimate defender? This is where your spiritual maturity is revealed. Not in how loudly you can speak, but in how powerfully you can remain silent. You must come to a point where your trust in God is stronger than your desire to be understood by people. Because the truth is, not everyone deserves your explanation. Not everyone is capable of understanding your journey. And not every voice speaking against you is worth responding to. Some voices are distractions. Some words are traps. And if you respond to everything, you will lose focus on what truly matters. God is calling you to a higher standard, a place where your peace is not dependent on proving yourself, and your confidence is not shaken by opinions. But that level requires discipline. It requires that you silence the urge to react and replace it with the decision to trust. Trust that God sees what they said. Trust that God knows what they did. Trust that nothing escapes His awareness. And if He has not instructed you to speak, then your silence is not ignorance. It is obedience. And obedience carries power. There is a quiet authority that comes from a person who does not need to speak to validate themselves. A calm strength that unsettles those who expect a reaction. When you refuse to engage in unnecessary words, you shift the atmosphere. You move from being reactive to being intentional. And that shift changes everything. You begin to realize that not every battle is yours to fight. Some battles belong entirely to God. And when you step back, when you close your mouth and allow Him to move, you will witness outcomes that your own efforts could never achieve. But this requires patience. And patience is not passive, it is active trust. It is choosing in the middle of pressure to remain aligned with God's guidance instead of your emotions. It is standing firm when everything inside you is pushing you to respond. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable. It will feel unnatural at first because you are used to expressing everything immediately. You are used to reacting without pause. But growth always feels uncomfortable before it becomes natural. You are being reshaped. You are being refined. You are being transformed into someone who does not speak out of impulse, but out of purpose. And there is something you must not overlook. Every word you do not say in anger is a victory. Every moment you choose silence over reaction is progress. Every time you resist the urge to respond, you are strengthening your discipline and deepening your connection with God. This is not small. This is not insignificant. This is the foundation of a life that is stable, focused, and aligned. Because a person who cannot control their words cannot control their direction. And a person who cannot control their direction will struggle to reach their destination. God is guiding you toward stability, toward clarity, toward purpose. But you must cooperate with that guidance. You must recognize that your words are not just expressions, they are decisions. And every decision carries consequences. So ask yourself in every moment of tension, is what I am about to say aligned with what I am praying for? Is this word building or breaking? Is this response leading me closer to God's plan or farther away? If the answer is not clear, then silence is the safest choice. There is no regret in words that were never spoken, but there is deep regret in words that should have remained unspoken. Learn from this truth. Carry it with you. Let it guide you in moments when your emotions rise, and understand this clearly. Silence does not mean suppression. It does not mean you ignore your feelings or deny your reality. It means you choose the right time, the right way, and the right intention before you speak. It means you bring your emotions under control instead of allowing them to control you. There is a difference between silence and wisdom-driven speech. And when you learn that balance, your words will carry weight. Your voice will have impact. And when you do speak, it will be with clarity, authority, and purpose. But until that discipline is established, silence remains your protection. God is not asking you to lose your voice. He is teaching you how to use it correctly. Because a voice that is not disciplined becomes noise. And noise does not build. It disturbs. It confuses. It weakens. But a disciplined voice becomes a force. It brings direction. It creates alignment. It carries influence. And that is what God is preparing you for. A life where your words are intentional. A life where your speech reflects your faith. A life where your silence speaks just as loudly as your voice. So do not rush to speak. Do not feel pressured to respond. Do not allow others to dictate your reactions. Stand firm. Stay grounded. Remain aware. And when the moment comes where everything inside you is urging you to speak, Remember this: not every feeling deserves a voice, and not every situation requires your words. Sometimes the greatest expression of strength is restraint, guided by trusting God. There is a hidden battlefield within you that most people never recognize. And it is not outside in the world, it is inside your own chest, between your heart and your tongue. This is where decisions are made in fractions of seconds. This is where impulses rise like storms, demanding to be released. And this is where God is watching most closely, because what happens in that inner moment determines what will manifest in your outer life. Before a word ever leaves your lips, it has already passed through this battlefield. And if you lose there, you will lose everywhere. You must understand that restraint is not denial, it is alignment. It is bringing your inner world into submission under a higher awareness that God sees beyond what you feel. When you hold back your words, you are not suppressing your truth, you are refining it. You are giving it time to be purified so that when it finally emerges, it carries wisdom instead of chaos, clarity instead of confusion, purpose instead of regret. There are people who speak quickly and feel powerful for a moment, but later they realize they have weakened their own position. And there are people who remain silent when provoked, who feel the intensity of that moment, but choose discipline, and later they stand in strength, unshaken and respected. The difference is not intelligence. The difference is control. And control is not natural, it is trained. God is training you even now through situations that test your patience and challenge your emotions. When someone speaks against you, when someone misjudges you, when someone pushes you to your limit, that is not just a random event. That is a moment of testing. A moment where your response becomes your testimony. A moment where your silence can become your shield. Do not underestimate how much damage can be done in one uncontrolled sentence. A single phrase spoken in anger can undo years of trust. A careless remark can close doors that took a lifetime to open. A moment of verbal weakness can leave scars that words can never fully repair. And God, seeing all of this in advance, urges you again and again, hold your tongue. But beyond protection, there is something even greater: transformation. When you learn to be silent at the right time, your perspective begins to shift. You start to observe more. You start to understand more. You begin to see patterns, motives, and intentions that were hidden when you were too busy reacting. Silence creates space for awareness, and awareness is the beginning of wisdom. When your mouth is closed, your mind becomes sharper. When your words are restrained, your insight increases. And when your reactions are controlled, your discernment becomes stronger. You begin to recognize what truly matters and what is merely a distraction. You stop wasting energy on arguments that lead nowhere, and you start focusing on actions that move you forward. This is how God elevates a person. Not just by giving them opportunities, but by shaping their inner discipline so they can handle those opportunities wisely. Because what is the value of reaching a higher level if you do not have the control to remain there? Elevation without discipline leads to collapse, but elevation with discipline leads to stability. There is also a deeper truth you must accept. Not everything that hurts you is meant to be confronted immediately. Some things are meant to be endured with patience, while God works in ways you cannot see. Your immediate reaction might bring temporary relief, but your restraint allows a greater outcome to unfold. God is not not slow, he is precise. And his timing is not delayed, it is deliberate. When you speak too soon, you step ahead of that timing. You interfere with the process that was perfectly arranged. But when you remain silent, you stay within the flow of his plan. This is why silence requires faith. Because in that moment, you are choosing to believe that God is handling what you cannot control. You are choosing to trust that justice does not depend on your voice. You are choosing to surrender your need to react and replace it with confidence in his awareness. And that is not easy. It goes against your instincts. It challenges your habits. It forces you to confront your own impatience. But this is where growth happens. Not in comfort, not in ease, but in the tension between what you feel and what you choose. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you are strengthening a new pattern within yourself. You are building a habit of control. You are creating a foundation that will support greater responsibility. And slowly you begin to notice a change not just in your actions, but in your entire presence. You become calmer, more grounded, less reactive, more focused. And people around you begin to sense that difference. They may not understand it, but they feel it, because there is a quiet strength in someone who does not need to speak to prove their worth. And this strength is not loud. It does not demand attention. It does not seek validation. It simply exists, steady, unwavering, rooted in trust in God. Do not be deceived by those who speak endlessly, who react to everything, who fill every silence with noise. That is not power. That is lack of control. True power is the ability to remain still when everything around you is moving, to remain silent when everything within you is urging you to speak, because in that stillness, you are not inactive. You are aligned. You are allowing God to work without interference. You are creating space for clarity, for direction, for outcomes that are beyond your own ability. There is also a protection in silence that you must not overlook. When you do not speak unnecessarily, you reveal less of your weaknesses. You expose fewer vulnerabilities. You protect your intentions, your plans, your focus. Not everyone needs access to your thoughts. Not everyone deserves to hear your perspective. Some people are not listening to understand. They are listening to respond, to judge, to use your words against you. And if you speak freely without discernment, you give them material they can misuse. But when you are selective with your words, when you choose silence wisely, you maintain control over your narrative. God is guiding you toward that level of awareness, a level where you do not speak out of habit, but out of intention, where your words are measured, your responses are thoughtful, and your silence is purposeful. And when you reach that level, you will see a shift not only within yourself, but in the way life responds to you. Situations that once triggered you will no longer have the same effect. Conflicts that once drained you will lose their power. And opportunities that once seemed distant will begin to draw closer, because you are no longer operating from impulse, you are operating from alignment. So continue to train yourself. Continue to pause before speaking. Continue to observe your inner reactions and choose discipline over impulse. This is not a one-time decision. It is a daily practice, a continuous refinement. And with every moment of restraint, you are moving closer to a version of yourself that is stronger, wiser, and more aligned with God's guidance. Do not rush the process. Do not underestimate the importance of these small decisions, because they are not small. They are shaping your future in ways you cannot yet fully see. And as you continue on this path, remember this deeply. The words you withhold in discipline are just as powerful as the words you speak in wisdom. Now stand still for a moment and feel the weight of this truth settle deep within you. Your life is not being shaped only by what you do, but by what you allow to leave your mouth. Your destiny is not just in your hands, it is in your discipline. And in this very moment, God is calling you to rise above the habits that have kept you restless, reactive, and restrained from your true elevation. Look honestly at your life. Look at the moments you regret, the words you wish you could take back, the situations that escalated because you refused to remain silent. Do not turn away from it. Do not justify it. Face it with courage, because awareness is the beginning of transformation. And God honors the one who is willing to see their own weakness and surrender it for strength. This is your moment of decision. Not tomorrow, not later, but now. Will you continue to let your emotions control your speech, or will you bring your speech under the guidance of God? Will you keep reacting to every voice, every insult, every misunderstanding? Or will you rise into a level of discipline where your peace cannot be shaken by what surrounds you? God is not asking you for perfection. He is asking you for commitment, a decision that from this day forward, you will not speak carelessly, that you will not allow temporary feelings to produce permanent consequences, that you will pause, reflect, and choose your words with intention, or choose silence with strength. There will be moments when everything inside you will demand that you respond. Your pride will rise. Your frustration will burn. Your heart will feel heavy with things you want to release. And in that exact moment, you will remember this truth. You will feel that inner call urging you to be still. And that is where your transformation will be tested. Do not fail in that moment. Do not surrender to impulse. Stand firm. Close your mouth, not because you have nothing to say, but because you have chosen something greater than speaking. You have chosen obedience to God. And when you do this consistently, something extraordinary will begin to happen. You will feel a peace that does not depend on circumstances. You will carry a strength that does not need to be proven. You will walk with a confidence that comes not from being heard, but from being aligned. This is the life God is guiding you toward. A life where your silence protects you, your words uplift you, and your discipline elevates you. A life where you are no longer trapped in cycles of regret, but moving forward with clarity and purpose. So take this into your heart and hold it tightly. Every moment of restraint is a step closer to the person you are meant to become. Every word you choose not to speak in anger is a victory that strengthens your spirit. Every time you trust God instead of reacting, you are building a future that is stable, peaceful, and guided. Do not underestimate the power of this decision. It may seem small, but it carries the weight of your direction. It determines whether you rise or remain where you are. And God has not created you to remain limited. He has created you to grow, to rise, to walk in strength and clarity. So from this moment forward, let your silence become intentional. Let your words become purposeful. Let your heart become disciplined. And let your trust in God become unshakable. Because when you master your speech, you do not just change your conversations, you change your life. And when your life is aligned with God, there is nothing that can stand against the peace, the strength, and the purpose that will begin to flow through. Thank you.